Quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Guys, first of all, James Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. I just want to say, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum? I'm one of the people who's very, very prone to sensory overload. There's a lot of whispering and chatter going on. It's making it very difficult for me to focus. Please, can we just, I know we're all fresh and ready to go, but can we please just keep the chatter to a minimum? It's affecting my ability to focus. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Okay, is there a speaker against name, chapter, pronouns?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Welcome to Black Angus Reviews. You may be a bit confused with that opening video. Comes back to us from 2019. I think it's Oxford University. And it has to do with the handy capable. Now, some of you may have seen Eric July's video rehashing Sun Spider, a cringy spider sona character from Marvel. We went over it on old Geek Getaway's channel. It's good context, good back and forth, digging into the character and why my introspection with Eric debunks. Just left me with a sour taste in my mouth. Not from him. I like that guy. Appreciate his insight to the character, but like just the more I dug into this more, it's like, this is cringe, dude. This is cringe. But I couldn't quite pin why. And it's because it is a self-insert character. The creator of Sun Spider, Dayn Broder. She looks more or less like what you would expect. And on her about page, she's like, I created the original disabled Marvel spider hero, the amazing Sun Spider. Recently published in the Huffington Post. She's on Webtoons. In the last blurb, I consider myself an advocate for marginalized stories and storytellers, including stories by and for people of color, disabled people, lettuce, bacon, tomato, guacamole people, and other underrepresented persons. If you watch that video of Eric, I think it's very revelatory of the limited scope you should ever expect from that guy. It wasn't already obvious. He has no range of thought or depth, with this criticism of why this stuff is bad. And it's a self-insert. Now, I get that this was like Marvel sought out the best looking spider sonas. It was fan-made stuff, whatever. Eric jumped on T. Franklin and was like, no, it's really at the core of this creator. There's this, propping up. So the creator has E.D.S, which I was looking up. It's Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And it's a syndrome. It's a group of different syndromes, inherited disorders that affect your connective tissues. That's your skin, joints, blood vessel walls. Connective tissue is a complex mixture of proteins and other substances that provide strength and elasticity to the underlying structures in your body. People who have E.D.S usually have overly flexible joints and stretchy, fragile skin. This can become a problem if you have a wound that requires stitches because the skin often isn't strong enough to hold them. More severe form of the disorder, called vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, can cause the walls of your blood vessels, intestines, or uterus to rupture. Because vascular E.D.S can have serious potential complications of pregnancy, you want to talk to a genetic counselor before starting a family. So you're a fucking genetic freak with this, potentially, if you want to propagate the world. You're at a real disadvantage and arguably culpable for unnecessary harm and pain to your offspring if it's assured that you'll pass this. The writer, Dana, has this disease to some extent, and that's unfortunate. And so she makes this self-insert character, which is like fine for fan fiction. When you're making an actual Marvel proper character, and I got in this whole debate, and SJWs, they don't get it. Just like Eric and Assface, they cry about gay spider people, gay. That's why they're triggered. Because T. Franklin is a non-hetero, disabled POC, and so this like arguably maintains your career in comics because she checks all the boxes. That might be valid criticism, but this like self-insert stuff, that's also there. But like, I find a real problem with this because superheroes and disabled do not really go together. Now, you have Charles Xavier is a well-known disabled character, but his power is not tied to his being in a wheelchair. It's not a one for one, or if I do this, I got to accept this. They did a great story with that in Days of Future Past film, but there's been multiple runs where Xavier is walking, still has his power, maybe loses power, whatever the case. But he lost it. He lost his walking ability in a conflict with Lucifer. He was already a mind reader. That's part of the whole conflict with him and Juggernaut. Daredevil. They will invoke Daredevil, a blind guy who can echolocate. Arguably, he's more enhanced with his disability, and he has to lie about it. But this character, she gets bit by a spider. It does nothing to improve her state of being with her E.D.S. And then they try to argue in the book that she's like better spider crime fighter with her stretchy joints that tire her out. It's like, this is what's frustrating, man. When you try to like, this character's whole point from its origin is this like diversity, equity, inclusion nonsense. The character is just disability. It is just checking the box of diversity. And that's the problem. And when you start trying to like piece it out, it always boils back to like, well, it's a good character because she's disabled and representation matters. Cringe, dude. Comics, especially something like Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a for the kids kind of character. You always got to make sure you're like sealing the deal on that base. Spider-Man, however you tool him, add new powers to a different version of Spider Sona, you got to think the power fantasy of children. Would they want that toy of that character? Would they want to play him in a video game or her? I don't think a kid's first knee jerk of like the plethora of Marvel characters, like, oh boy, crutches Spider-Man with a wheelchair accessory for his backpack. Like, what? Who signed off on this? This is awful. This has nothing to do with the sexuality of the character, which is the chief thing Assface and Eric will jump on because, again, they're so short-sighted. That's all they see with this. So I got to give them props for like, yeah, this is a crappy thing. Why are they genocide? But they don't really get like the harm this does. This is part of, it's very easy to catch on to, well, how's like the physics of it for knees are bum? That's wonky, Is she healed and now she's playing off that she's disabled like Daredevil does? But no, it's none of that. It's like she's disabled, spider person, and she's great because she's disabled, which is like, what a warped message. Superheroes, especially when you're talking about Spider-Man or something that like kids are going to gravitate to, you need to fulfill that power fantasy of like, I would love to do this. I would love to put on that suit and be that guy. And I want to go outside and play as that guy, flipping, fighting the bad guys. So yeah, it's made me realize that, if you might realize this already, but superheroes are kind of modeled on like the Greco-Roman ideal of body. Disability doesn't really go with it. I know there's lots of characters that have more or less personality traits that are flaws, whether it be selfishness, alcoholism, etc. But generally speaking, superheroes are the good guys, and they work within the frame of they have personal vices or demons, maybe even psychological disabilities or hindrances, personality disorders. But they're good guys that are able-bodied and feel the need to protect society, and however big or small that is for them. And generally speaking, you see this like Disney movies that help codify this. Usually villains are, color-coded, dark, menacing, a lot of like black in their uniforms or imagery, and they have some sort of physical deformity or defect. They're disgusting. Ephialtes probably wasn't a hunchback, but there's a narrative purpose to make Ephialtes in 300 a freak Quasimodo character because he is deformed inside. He is turned on the noble 300. Scar, it's a slight little thing. He's got black fur versus the noble, majestic crown mane of Mufasa. He's lanky, he's kind of serpentine. There's all these little traits that are tried and true for villainy. It might be like weird distortions, like Mr. Glass talks about in Unbreakable. But superheroes need to fall under an ideal physique, generally speaking, and villains have to have some sort of physical flaw or deformity that kind of informs you to like their deformed soul and their evil. However sympathetic they can be is outside of that. But these are kind of like generalities that we've all accepted in storytelling. This woke disability wheelchair spider person is part of this DIE deconstruction, fight the white systemic racist patriarchy, misogyny, diatribe we hear in everything. Like we're seeing with Star Wars. With this, the first thing they run out is like, we need a woman to make men uncomfortable with Star Wars. What? No, I see it all as part of the same hive, and then when you try to like say, no, just the disabled characters are cool. Look at Daredevil. Yeah, no, Daredevil's a cool character, but that's not like his most defining feature. That's definitely informs his power, but he's a full fleshed out character. He's a devout Catholic lawyer in Hell's Kitchen. And it has to do with the moral quandary of vigilantism with serving the law and then meeting out his ideal of law within that versus people like Punisher or Spider, whatever. It comes in conflict. Elektra, silly. Or they bring up like Hawkeye. Hawkeye with his, I guess he has hearing aids, which like never really been a big factor like in the MCU. They've stressed. Maybe they have like a line or a way to show you that, but it's never been a defining trait like, oh, disabled Hawkeye, we got to get our sign language person out, got to be attentive to his no, it's not a non-issue. Hawkeye does this thing, he needs hearing aids. It doesn't even compare to the idea of stupid shit like Sun Spider. It's disgusting. This is part of the oppression Olympics ideology we've been talking about for years now. It's part of, instead of uplifting the few, the proud, like the Marines, instead of uplifting the ideal to strive for, they try to prop up what you don't want to be artificially in their weird oppression Olympics, ranking system. It's like everybody versus white, male, straight, probably Christian as well on top of that. I'm not even Christian, but I recognize that problem. And I think the Sun Spider is definitely part of that. And then when you see people try to compare, no one mentioned Batgirl Oracle. She's in a fucking wheelchair because she fits what I'm talking about. She's stuck in a, she's in her wheelchair and she's doing her computer work and doing research. She's part of the team. She's smart, but she's handy capable. So she's stuck in a chair. It's ridiculous to try to make her Batgirl still if she's in her wheelchair. Hence why they retcon that with Gail Simone. Handicap isn't cool. And you try to compare it to like Hulk with his demon of trying to control the monster. It doesn't compare because Hulk is physically abled. Even when Daredevil, he's physically able. He's just blind, but he has the benefit of echolocation for sight. So it's self-defeating. Doctor Strange, people don't even think of him as disabled with his hands, even though that might be the impetus to his character. SJWs know it's bullshit, but because it fits their general hive of woke ideology, they got to defend a shit character that they won't buy, that they don't actually care about. It's a virtue signal character from the start. I understand wanting to see yourself in a character, but people want to see their best selves, not their broken selves. Like, it's so weird that we've infantilized people to accept this crap. And so, like, I truly fucking hate this. You'll never see a disabled character in the Methoverse be propped up as like an equal hero or anti-hero or villain to anyone in the potential catalog of the Methoverse. Uh, which is not really what I'm calling it. I don't, but it's so cringy to me. It's very offensive to me because it goes against like it's trying to dismantle, patriarchal, ableist views of storytelling and heroism. Again, Xavier's awesome. He's awesome because he's a mental character. He can be paraplegic or fully quadriplegic. He's a brain-based character. He's smart. But he's also not like swinging around and stuff and people saying, "Oh, it's actually great that you're paraplegic, Xavier. You're actually a better crime fighter for being disabled." What are we doing? This is infantilizing. It's insulting. Disabled people know when you're talking down to them and lying to them. "Oh, you're just as smart, Down syndrome person. You're just as good a runner, Timmy, as fucking Usain Bolt. Like, quit lying. You're not helping anybody. If anything, playing this game with them makes them more sad. Versus if you just taught people, hey, you're at a disadvantage, and you incentivize them and praise them for when they overcome it. That's why Stephen Hawking, despite recent events and enlightenments, Stephen Hawking is kind of a hero because look at the great mind he was in his field, despite being a rotting corpse in a chair. It's admirable. He worked within his boundaries and overcame it, and is an icon of science. See how that goes in the future, given a certain Steen in the files. But Derek July, his attitude, his conduct, and his bad fucking comics and lack of self-awareness warrant hate. But he kind of got this one right for the most surface level reasons. And I don't want anyone to think I have ill will towards Eric Debunks. Haven't watched a lot of his content, but hanging out with him on stream, seeing him with E.D.S on stream, he's a pretty fair, even killed guy. Definitely probably have very different worldviews about stuff, but I'm willing to go on the table. So hopefully that gives you a scope of reference. I'm saying all this fandom menace, Comicsgate, anti-woke stuff, and I'm like, hey, I'm cool with like the gay detractor of Rippaverse. There's a spectrum here. But if you're thinking, if you made it this far and you're like, oh, look, Angus is out, it's ankle biting again. Like, did you not see this whole video? I'm kind of giving Eric credit where it's due. But regardless, Rippaverse fans, I'm ankle biting, and I've come prepared. I'll let you decide. Which one are we doing? Are we doing 5 salt, 5 pepper blend, or are we going Mexican? Are we doing churrasco? Because either way, I'm seasoning those ankles because I'm biting them. Thank you for joining. I will talk to you later. I hope this opens up an interesting conversation. Maybe it's an avenue of thought you never really quite thought about with superheroes. Because, obviously it's almost always like buff jack dudes, hot women, big tits, thin waists, etc. But there's a reason for it. It's like easy. It's easy template to do so much more. And it's actually really dumb. It's really hard to make an Xavier or even a Daredevil. And Daredevil, again, he's having to like lie with everybody with his disability. He actually is completely full functioning. Sun Spider sucks. I hate it. Let's do our part to keep dumb shit like that out of comics and out of especially kids' hands.